Let's bring in Congressman from the great state of Florida, Byron Donalds.
Welcome, Congressman.
Congressman, it's good to have you.
Thanks for coming
Good to
on.
be with you guys. How you doing?
Doing okay. Got some questions, though, before we start talking about some of the news of the day.
Sure.
You had seats back there.
Oh, yeah, I had great ones, too.
You had great ones. Okay, so now, are you even going to be invited inside?
I think how it's going is members of Congress, I believe, are going to be inside. And then I think what Aishna was saying is correct. Everything else for people to get in is going to be super tight. I know everybody's scrambling, trying to figure it out. It's a tough transition, but listen, the weather here has been really cold. Yesterday was actually nice.
Yeah.
And so I think people are like, well, it's nice now. It's 40 degrees. Don't take that for what's going to happen on Monday.
Right.
The temperatures are going to drop pretty fast.
It's going to change. Let's get your thoughts on TikTok because Trump just says, as the president-elect, he said, we're going to save TikTok. I talked to him yesterday morning. He said he's going to personally negotiate the deal. He has a framework in mind. Right. What is your viewpoint on this? Should it be opened back up or should it continue to be shut down?
As long as you can protect the privacy of Americans, then, yeah, keep the app, as long as you could do that. That was always the key issue. And I think that President Trump's going to find a way to get that done. Listen, a funny thing happens when you go over the deadline. All of a sudden, all of the people, all the things that ByteDance was saying they would not do now become credible that they will do.
But
so we'll see what happens.
Here's what kills me. They have two other, one's a ByteDance, two other Chinese apps that are going to do the same thing. They're getting millions of followers. The TikTok users are going there. They're going to have the same problem. Why don't they just stick to the rules? If you're a foreign entity or an enemy nation, you cannot have a social media presence in our country.
I mean, look, the reason why I think the Chinese don't want to stick to the rules when it comes to operating in our markets is because typically we don't have leadership that actually upholds our rules. That's what happens with trade policy all the time. So you have a president in Donald Trump who's going to make sure that not just China, but every other nation abides by the rules of the United States. When you don't have consistent leadership, you get stuff like this. That's why that's one of the reasons Donald Trump is back. You got to continue that up and have that not a hard stance, but a firm stance.
Right.
So whether it's China or anybody else,
you agree it's
got
to be sold, though? Because
I do.
Because the Chinese Communist Party has control over that. Their editor-in-chief is the general secretary of the Communist Party. And come on.
I voted to shut down the app. Yes, it needs to be sold. And look, I get it. Americans love TikTok. But we're not going to let their information be at the behest of the Chinese Communist Party.
And the news feed be China's news feed.
That's right.
Well, if you think about it, though, if Donald Trump, in his first week or two, were able to save TikTok for the 170 million Americans who use it, they'd be going like, you know what? I like that guy. He's smart. He sees the numbers. He'll figure a way to do it.
It's not just going to be that. I mean, when Americans see deportations or repatriations happen, they're going to be like, thank you. When they see the border closed, they're going to say, this is what I voted for. When they see peace starting to break out again around the world, they're going to be like, this is the stability that we were asking for. Daddy's back. And that's what you're going to see.
So you just touched on it. Is tomorrow the deportations are going to start or the repatriations are going to start?
Repatriations are going to start tomorrow.
Is that what we're going to call it?
That's what they are. People have to be able to go back home. I had some people in my office who were Democrats from my district concerned about how this is going to work. And I asked them, I said, if you allow the neighborhood children to come to your home and start breaking stuff, do you let them stay? And they said, no, they got to go home. I said, exactly. Our nation cannot allow for all of the illegal immigration that Joe Biden allowed on his watch to continue. The most cost-effective thing, the safest thing, and the best thing for the American people is we're going to have to repatriate people to their home countries.
There's an article that I was reading this morning. Top Trump ally, Byron Donalds, turns up volume on likely 2026 run for Florida governor. Do you want to break some news this morning?
No. But that's a great headline. I like it. Look,
are you thinking about it? I know last year you were interviewed and you said, I don't want to rule anything out.
I never rule anything out. I mean, you can't in politics. The number one thing you have to do is your job. So we have an agenda to get through for the American people. The first 100 days is going to be critical. Once we get through that, then we'll see where things are. But right now, the job is in that building behind you. We have a responsibility. The president has a mandate, and we're going to deliver.
If you did decide to run for governor, how would that work? Because there's a little territory right there. You had the primary, and most of the Republican delegation went with Donald Trump, where you have Ron DeSantis, who's the governor now in Florida. He was running against. Have y'all put that behind you and he's not going to get involved in the governor race, or will that be problematic?
I don't know. I mean, look, I think whether it's President Trump or Governor DeSantis, they'll probably have conversations around that. The first thing is you actually have to see people get into the race. And you don't really know what those dynamics are until the field is set. Politics is like boxing. Styles make fights. That's just the way it is. And so once that gets set, then I think all the other pieces start falling.
When will you announce a decision if you plan on seeking the office?
I don't know that, man. I can't give you that.
But you need about 2 years, right? Don't you
again?
think you need about a year and a half to ramp up?
And did
Everybody's campaign strategy is different. You know, can you build name ID? Do you have name ID? Do you have the ability to raise the resources? Where are voters on the ground? Do you have support networks around the state? All those different dynamics really dictate how much time you need to ramp up a campaign.
Well, if you decide, the desk is always open. Actually, we've got a couch in New York City. Byron, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, Tom.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And it's easier on your family, too, as a governor. One state doesn't have to travel. That's what Congressman
But he'd have
DeSantis
to move
said.
to Tallahassee.
This is beautiful this time of year.
Yeah, his wife is a fighter too, though. So
We're working out
she's
the
all into
entire
it.
family's problems right here at the big plastic
Look,
desk.
see, honey, they fixed it. They solved
Are
everything.
you a Seminole?
Of
Are you a
course.
Knoll?
I'm Knoll-blooded all the way.
All right.
Go Knowles.
Thank
Okay.
you, Congressman.
Thanks,
guys.
Congressman.
Thanks, Byron. Great to see you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.